Have we begun, or have we not? Oh, we have. Hey, all right. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Hello to the absolutely no one that's here. That's absolutely fine. Today, we have, of course, been spending the whole week recording and editing the first part of the third book of Sherlock Holmes. And today, we're going to be doing some work making a thumbnail. I use Fireworks, Adobe Fireworks, a very, very old version, but it's one I'm used to, so it's fine. It doesn't matter. So the book is called A Scandal in Bohemia. So we begin by looking for. I have an assortment here of free image sites: Pixabay, Raw Pixel, Pexels. What's this one? Unsplash and publicdomainpictures.net. We start with the most brutal search, Bohemian King. And my favorite is this little dog here, who is just brilliant, but that is under the paid images, unfortunately. And I don't think we could get away with using that anyway, but, I love it. I love it. And we see no Bohemian Kings here found. We have to make sure, quite often, sites like this sort of sandwich the free images in between paid images, so you have to make sure that you're using the ones that you're allowed to use. We've had quite enough copyright issues recently, thank you very much. Okay, Bohemian King, not a lot here. Guy facing the wrong way, that's not very good. This one seems to be focusing on Bohemian rather than King. That's okay. Oh, Charlie's dad. Yeah, not a lot there of much use. Pexels has an awful lot of amateur photographers with their amateur model friends or whatever. So you get a lot of that. We're going to see a lot of chess images, I think, and I don't mind that, actually, as long as the picture is interesting. And lions, more chess. Tiny baby with a crown. Yeah, not so much. Not so much. And to the I'm so bohemian models there. That's fine. Yeah, nothing particularly interesting. This woman here seems to get in under every search. Whoever's doing her SEO is doing an amazing job, because basically whatever you look for, she's going to show up. Okay, we have some actual Bohemian historical artifacts here in Raw Pixel. That's nice, but not particularly useful, unfortunately. So over here, Pixabay, what have we got? See sponsored images up the top. And the free ones. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? I don't mind that. I don't mind that either. But they're a bit bland. They're a bit colourless, you know. You know what? Let's go through again and get rid of Bohemian and see what happens. Yes, this is what my workday is quite often like when I'm trying to find... You think this is boring. Wait till you see me trying to find the right sound effect. Oh, good Lord, that can take, like, literally hours to find one little clang or ping or a rock slide or a footstep, you know. Ah, yes. The Rat King. Very important. That's good. That's good. Lots of lions. Lots of chess. Tend to get some really nice landscapes, and I've used quite a few over the years. So that's it for King. Okay, not a lot there, honestly. That's interesting. There seems to be some kind of notation. Yeah, someone's put there Unsplash? Are we in the paid area or something? I don't think so. No. See, that's very striking. But just in black and white, I'm not sure if that's very good. Oh, that's a bit more dramatic, isn't it? I mind that one. More lions. A hallway. Now wait, if we have that... See, it's got that unsplash thing again. I'm not a fan of that. I don't know why that's there, and it makes me concerned to use it. All right, kings, 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 kings. Throw on the card. That's interesting. Little statues, moderately cool. King, king, king. Lion, lion, lion. Is that Frederick? Frederick of Germany? Not sure. It can be hard to tell. There have been a lot of kings throughout history. Lots of these chess images. I don't know, that seems like it might just be a little on the nose. Oh, I like that board. Look at that. Isn't that cool? It actually looks sort of like a castle, right? Pretty cool, pretty cool. It's like a precursor. I'm about to show how nerdy I am. It's like a precursor to the 3D chess from Star Trek. Ooh. What the hell is that? Oh, man. I mean, I'm an artist, but I cannot stand pretentious art. It's just so annoying. Oh, I like the lighting in that one. That's very dramatic, isn't it? Peacock dreams. Do do do. Peacock dreams. Your toppling of the king. How is that king? Maybe that guy's an actual king. I don't know. Can't tell nowadays, can you? They just dress like any other suit. Help, help, my head's stuck in a wall. Okay, seems like they have a lot, but not a lot of them are actually relevant. On some of these sites, you get quite a lot of like... oh my god! Is it what I was talking about with the really pretentious art? Yeah. I hate that. There is a kind of a clash that you might not know about. Burger King, are you serious? Between like actors and dancers or body movers, because... I mean, actors can be a little wanky, but dancers, oh my god. A more pretentious bunch of tossers you will never meet. When I was at acting school, it was sort of cut in half, you know. And half of it was acting, the other half was dancing, and never the twain did meet. We did not speak to the dancers, they did not speak to us. So I might have just a little bit of that old prejudice sitting in my heart. I might have to analyze that at some point and work out. Wow! Oh my god, what a tosser. Alright, that's awful. Models, even worse than dancers, I think. Just terrible, awful people, and I think we're down in model territory here. Oh yeah, look at that guy, definitely a model. Okay, lots of chess stuff, lots of models, lots of dancers. Okay, so we'll ignore that. I kind of like that. We might be working with that one. Lots of cards, couple of statues, some old woodcuts, some armor, lions. making a thumbnail is quite difficult, and you might notice that mine aren't necessarily the best in the world, because you want something striking, but also like not too big or complicated, because the text has to be the main thing, particularly on mine where they're they're books. I kind of like this one, because I think we can, like, I'll take that and I'll flip it so that hand is reaching in from the other side, and then just fill the rest with black and have the text. I think that's quite good. So we'll take that. Okay. It's a very high quality picture, so I'm going to have to shrink it a lot. You're going to see how bad my editing is here. I am a brutal manual editor who does everything the hardest possible way to do it, I'm sure. And everyone who actually knows what they're doing is probably going, oh my God, you can do it so much easier than that. Well, I'm sure I could, but I didn't want to learn things. Modify, transform, flip horizontal. There we go. Lovely. All right. Okay. It seems like, though... Boop. Hang on 1 second. I'll start that again. 1920 by 1080, and we'll have a black background instead of transparent. Yes, much easier. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that good? It's all right. Okay. So, text here. A scandal in Bohemia. Ah, wait, that's not how we do these thumbnails, is it? Let's have a little quick squizzy, because what we do, view my channels, we have Sherlock Holmes, all massive here, and then the title under that. Okay, so back here, Sherlock. Wait, was it all in capitals, or? Yes, it was. Okay. Sherlock Holmes. And we'll have to go into here, stretch out Holmes a little bit. Ba-doomp. A little bit more. Doomp. There we go. Okay. Apply. Okay. Shrink its little box so it's the right size. Go that one there. Hey. Oh no, it was just straight white. Undo. Text editor. Ah, there you go. It's on grey. That's why it looked a bit blah. Control T for the old modify. Sherlock Holmes. And we'll stretch it down a bit. There we go. I think it's even bigger than that. It was like half the screen, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay. Let's make sure it's bold. It is. It's on the aerial. That's why it looks weird. There we go. Sherlock Holmes. Impact. Because Steve loves impact. He uses it all the time. Okay. Sherlock Holmes. Nice. Now we go all subtle and snazzy down here, and we'll start by dropping the size of that. A scandal in Bohemia. There we go. Something interesting. We tend to go. I quite like the cursive ones. Oh, that's quite cool though. And I do believe we have used. There's the sign of the 4. I think if we go back and find. Oh, it's going to be quite a ways back, isn't it? Study in Scarlet. There we go. It was a bit different. It's the same font though. I wonder what font that was. Dang it. See, unfortunately, I did lose my old... When I got out of hospital, I was all drugged up to the nines, and my computer had been so very slow that I desperately wanted to reinstall... That's kind of cool. Blackadder, I like that. I wanted to reinstall Windows, and it made me update to Windows 11, and it's been nothing but trouble ever since, but still, that's fine. Because I was drugged up to the eyeballs, I did it literally like within an hour or two of getting home after being on really strong painkillers for 2 weeks solid, bedridden in a Japanese hospital. I did not plan very well. And I have lost a lot of data. A lot. I'm also having one of those moments right now where you look at a word for too long and it starts looking like I'm not sure it's spelt correctly. And for some reason my brain is telling me that scandal is spelt with a K, and it's not. But that's what my brain says. My brain is a stupid place. This has to be interesting but legible. And while I love cursive, I know a lot of people can't really read it. Again, back in acting school, we had to write out a piece, and I wrote it in cursive, and we were supposed to hand it to the teacher who was going to read it so we could hear, someone else reading our words. And he looked at it and said, basically, "Oh, that looks fantastic, but I can't read that." Which disgusted me. But there you go. I have to tell you. Oh, that looks okay. No, it's going to be too hard to read. I was quite disappointed, almost from day one to the moment I left acting school. I was quite disappointed in acting school and the level of the teachers and the sort of things that they did. My review of acting school always went, I did not like it because, they all seemed to be far more interested in getting drunk and getting laid than they were in actually doing the work, and the students were even worse. Yeah, that's my scathing review. Which is not tremendously accurate, actually. Because a lot of the teachers were really good. It's just that the ones that weren't were really, really bad. Like, one of the teachers at my acting school would come out into the sort of quadrangle area every lunchtime to bum cigarettes off of the students. Just, like, have some dignity, man. Jiminy Cricket, it's just terrible. A scandal in Bohemia. What do you think? I think that looks all right? Okay. And then it's just, read by Steve Parker in that same font. Read by, and it'll be smaller. I'll shrink it, and it'll be just plain white. Oops. Don't know why I've got the A-Team theme in my head today. There we go. I remember I once paid quite a lot of money to have a guy analyze my YouTube channel and try and tell me what I was doing wrong and what I could do to improve things. And one of the things he said was, I don't know why you're putting your name all over things. People don't know who you are. You have to, be honest with yourself and, say it's not helping people. It's not making people come and, check your stuff out because they don't know who you are. To which I said, and how are they going to find out? Dildo? You might be quite good at analysing YouTube channels, but you know nothing about selling yourself. And I've been an actor for years. If there's one thing you learn really quickly, it's that you have to sell yourself because no one else is going to do it. No one else on the planet is as interested in your career as you are. I made the mistake very early of thinking that that agents had a vested interest in me being a star. And they don't, of course. They only have a vested interest in taking their 15% when you become one. And it doesn't bother them which of their actors becomes a star, so long as they get to make that money. That's about it. That looks alright to me. I'm not so sure about this Scandal font, but no, I think it's alright. And we can put the chapter numbers like down here. It's only 1, 2, and 3, so that's okay. Alright, so we'll do that one. What are you guys? Alright, there we go. That's all the books we're working on at the moment. Sherlock, YouTube working. There we go. And then we also have to select all, copy, start a new one. That is 1080 by 1080. Badump. View, fit all, and then paste. Grab it all, shrink it down. We'll do our best to make it all fit. And not all platforms use the same shape thumbnail, of course. Okay, and this is for our mighty patrons. My heroes, those who put their money where their mouth is. I love my YouTube audience, I do. But when people who actually pay cash to hear my stuff, people who contributed when it looked like my channel was going to fail, they are my heroes. That looks pretty good. I don't mind that at all. A little bit bigger. A little bit bigger. There we go. Nice. Okay, save as. Sherlock. Pat working. Patreon. Yes. Okay, shut down both of those, thank you. And now we are over here. And that is all just so I can put that there and it doesn't look blank. It should be about 25 minutes, not 45, but that's all right. That's fine. We don't have to worry about the big legal jargon intro for this one, which is good. Scale to frame size, that's great, that's great, that's all great. Okay. So, Bohemia, take 2, edit A. Yeah, let's just very quickly check when it comes in. Hate that intro, don't use it anymore.
Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan.
Right, so it was on the 4th beat. That's fine. Right there.
Steve Parker Audiobooks presents The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, read by Steve Parker. Book 3, A Scandal in Bohemia. Parker. Book 3.
Can you not go further? Alright, let's perhaps slow you down a little bit. Yeah, 75, that should do it. Donk! There we go, look at that. Lovely. Lovely! Boom. And, oh, actually, we'll do it the other way. No, not you. You. Just because of the way these weird things work, that will allow us to do a lovely cross dissolve. Fantastic.
The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, read by Steve Parker. Book 3, A Scandal in Bohemia. 1. To Sherlock Holmes, she is always the woman.
Now, right, where is he? I think at the moment it's just a narrative, but as soon as he is placed, he is in a road outside. We might just keep it nice and smooth for a while. In fact, I might want to stretch that out. Which means going to grab it. Right? Yes. There's some music we're using for those interested. Violin Concerto in F minor. Winter. It's a lovely piece. Smashing. Lovely. Lovely piece. So we'll mute that for the moment.
Steve Parker Audiobooks presents The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, read by Steve Parker.
Right, so we skipped those first 4. Yes, alright. Let's just clean that up. You'd be amazed how much fiddly nonsense is involved with a obsessive compulsive perfectionist. Ooh, that sounds weird. Alright, so we'll put you up there. I think you're actually a little bit louder, but that's alright.
Steve Parker Audiobooks presents The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, read by Steve Parker. Book 3, A Scandal in Bohemia. 1. To Sherlock Holmes, she is always the woman. I've seldom heard him mention her under any other name.
Let's drop it a
In his
little bit.
eyes, she eclipses and predominates the whole of her sex. It was not that he felt any emotion akin to love for Irene Adler. All emotions, and that one particularly, were abhorrent to his cold, precise, but admirably balanced mind.
Right, that It's quite a little volume boost, isn't it?
Emotions, and that one particularly, were abhorrent to his cold, precise, but admirably balanced mind. He was, I take it, the most perfect reasoning and observing machine that the world had seen, but as a lover, he would have placed himself in a false position. He never spoke of the softer passions save with a jibe and a sneer. They were admirable things for the observer, excellent for drawing the veil from men's motives and actions, but for the trained reasoner to admit such intrusions into his own delicate and finely adjusted temperament was to introduce a distracting factor, which might throw a doubt upon all his mental results. Grit in a sensitive instrument, or a crack in one of his own high-power lenses, would not be more disturbing than
It's
a
too
strong
distracting, isn't it?
emotion in a nature such as his.
Yeah, it's too distracting. Okay, bye, 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 bye. Just hitting the undo button here. Bye, 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 bye. There we go. Okay, so I think we'll just take instead. Go to places. Look at my collection of sound effects. Oh, so many and so badly organized. You want to know how badly organized it is? I have a folder called Things. Yeah. But anyway, we're going to places at the moment, and we're going to look for my collection of... These are so hard to get. If you want to find, like, legally usable sound effects of various types, they are difficult. I think that one. Maybe a bit much. No, it'll be fine. We'll just keep it quiet. Okay. So, in general, quick save. You never know when it's going to crash. Oh, I should warn you, by the way. Since I upgraded to Windows 11, it has been giving me random blue screens of death, like, frequently. Like, I had 5 this morning. Just this morning. Good Lord. So, if this just suddenly stops, that's what's happened. Windows has decided to be excellent. Okay, so we'll do... Nice slow fade there.
1.
That's a bit too much. It's a very loud sound effect.
To Sherlock Holmes, she is always the woman. I've seldom heard him mention her and...
Why are you just carrying on? Oh, did I replaced it, didn't I? What a fool. Oops. No. Wrong. Oh, no, it's okay.
In Bohemia.
All right.
1. To Sherlock Holmes, she is...
Oh, that's way too abrupt. That's not smooth enough at all. It's not even close, Stephen. Okay.
To Sherlock Holmes, she is always the woman. I've seldom heard him mention her under... 1. To Sherlock Holmes, she is always the woman. I've seldom heard him mention her under any other name. In his eyes, she eclipses and predominates the whole of her sex. 1. To Sherlock Holmes, she is always the woman. I've seldom heard him mention her under any
that's all
other
right.
name. In his eyes, she eclipses and predominates the whole of her sex. It was not that he felt any emotion akin to love for Irene Adler. All emotions, and that one particularly, were abhorrent to his cold, precise, but admirably balanced mind. He was, I take it, the most perfect reasoning and observing machine that the world had seen, but as a lover, he would have placed himself in a false position. He never spoke of the softer passions save with a jibe and a sneer. They were admirable things for the observer, excellent for drawing the veil from men's motives and actions, but for the trained reasoner to admit such intrusions into his own delicate and finely adjusted temperament was to introduce a distracting factor which might throw a doubt upon all his mental results. Grit in a sensitive instrument or a crack in one of his own high-power lenses would not be more disturbing than a strong emotion in a nature such as his. And yet, there was but one woman to him, and that woman was the late Irene Adler, of dubious and questionable memory. I had seen little of Holmes lately. My marriage had drifted us away from each other. My own complete happiness and the home-centered interests which rise up around the man who first finds himself master of his own establishment were sufficient to absorb all my attention, while Holmes, who loathed every form of society with his whole bohemian soul, remained in our lodgings in Baker Street, buried among his old books, and alternating from week to week between cocaine and ambition, the drowsiness of the drug, and the fierce energy of his own keen nature. He was still, as ever, deeply attracted by the study of crime, and occupied his immense faculties and extraordinary powers of observation in following out these clues and clearing up those mysteries which had been abandoned as hopeless by the official police. From time to time I heard some vague account of his doings, of his summons to Odessa in the case of the Trepov murder, of the clearing up of the singular tragedy of the Atkinson brothers at Trincomalee, and finally of the mission which he had accomplished so delicately and successfully for the reigning family of Holland. Beyond these signs of his activity, however, which I merely shared with all the readers of the daily press, I knew little of my former friend and companion. One night, it was on the 20th of March 1888, I was returning from a journey to a patient, for I had now returned to civil practice, when my way led me through Baker Street. As I passed the well-remembered...
We can do something a bit more interesting there. Oh, man. Footsteps. Man. Play, please. No, no, no. We want a nice stroll. No. That's too slow. Alright, so we'll take... I don't know why I didn't keep the original or something. Anyway, doesn't matter.
On the 20th of March 1888, I was returning from a journey to a patient, for I had now...
No, no, no. We're going to slow you down. To, let's say, 85%. We shall maintain the pitch.
I was returning from a journey to a patient...
Oh, no, that's awful. Ugh. Oh, what the heck. We'll use that one. It's not like this is going to be here for very long.
A journey to a patient... for I was returning from a journey to a patient, for I had now returned to civil practice.
Let's make that a bit more of an interesting...
As I passed...
Have it fade.
It was on the 20th of March 1888. I was returning from a journey to a patient, for I had now returned to civil practice, when my way led me through Baker Street. As I passed the well-remembered door, which must always be associated in my mind with my wooing and with the dark incidents of the study in scarlet, I was seized with a keen...
No, because he stops there. So... Boop.
always be associated in my mind with my wooing and with the the dark incidents of the study in Scarlet.
Really, all you have to do to change how someone is walking is to mess with the rhythm.
Associated in my mind with my wooing and with the dark incidents of the study in Scarlet. I was seeing and with the dark incidents of the study in Scarlet. I was seized with a keen desire to see Holmes again, and to know how he was employing his extraordinary powers. His rooms were brilliantly lit, and even as I looked up, I saw his tall, spare figure pass twice.
Let's fade you down a little bit. Bloop.
Activity, however, which I knew. One night, it was on the 20th of March, 1888, I was returning from a journey to a patient, for I had now returned to civil practice, when my way led me through Baker Street. As I passed the well-remembered door, which must always be associated in my mind with my wooing and with the dark incidents of the study in Scarlet, I was seized with a keen desire to see Holmes again, and to know how he was employing his extraordinary powers. His rooms were brilliantly lit, and even as I looked up, I saw his tall, spare figure pass twice in a dark silhouette against the blind. He was pacing the room swiftly, eagerly, with his head sunk upon his chest and his hands clasped behind him. To me, who knew his every mood and habit, his attitude and manner told their own story. He was at work again. He had risen out of his drug-created dreams and was hot upon the scent of some new problem. I rang the bell and was shown up to the...
Bell, please. I'm not sure where that would be. No, not church bell. Maybe that one? No. Bicycle bell? I don't think so. No. Oh, maybe. Absolutely not. Yes, that could do it. No. I think that one. Never concern yourself over much with what a sound effect is called, because honestly, who cares?
And manner told their own story. He was at work again. He had risen out of his drug-created dreams and was hot upon the scent of some new problem. I rang the bell. I rang the bell and was shown up to the chamber, which had formerly been in part my own. His manner was...
Let's have a bit of door there, eh? It's really hard to find good door opening sound effects, because most doors are way too modern, right? Or they're all creaky horror doors, and that's not what we want. I had a great old door at my old house, so I got lots of sound effects from that. Like that one. But unfortunately the hinges were well oiled and it made no sound, so I couldn't get open. But I quite often combine a little bit of jiggly door handle with one of the door opening sound effects to make it sound good. That's okay if we just use that first bit.
I think, deceiving. With
Right, then we trim it. We don't need to actually hear the door close. That's fine, because we're just being shown in, right?
my own. His manner was not big. The chamber, which had formerly... I rang the bell and was shown up to the chamber, which had formerly been in part my own. His manner was not effusive. It seldom was, but he was glad, I think, to see me. With hardly a word spoken, but with a kindly eye, he waved me to an armchair, threw across his...
Maybe to an armchair, sitting in a chair, sitting in a chair. I know we've got that. I just don't know where I've put it. Here we go. That one, I think. Leather chair Holmes has probably got, right? Old Chesterfield or something.
He waved me to an armchair, threw across his case of cigars. Threw across his...
Too low, too low.
Threw across his case of cigars and indicated a spirit case.
Slight change. We do have a sound effect. I've tended to do this sort of thing quite a lot, where we have the City Victorian Street Aside Horses is the sound effect we were using. And then we have the same one outside, which is essentially that sound effect, but all muffled and stuff. I'll switch over to that. Make it even quieter. I tend to do it on the door closing generally, but since we don't have that, we'll just put it there.
I rang the bell and was shown up to the chamber, which had formerly been in part my own. His manner was not effusive. It seldom was, but he was glad, I think, to see me.
And maybe a fireplace. What do you think? I think fireplace. I love a fireplace. In life. Just in life, I like a fireplace. There we go. And it's a nice bit of shading to an interior room too, especially in cold and foggy London. Eh? There we go. And we'll move. Whoops. Oh dear. What the hell? What have I done, mate? There we go. That's what I've done. There we go, geezer. Have that road? No, we have to add some more tracks. Are you enjoying seeing the minutiae of my editing process and how agonizing and slow it is? This is why it takes me so long to put out books. But I love the sound effects. I love them. I think they are very good. That is my art, the sound effects.
Chamber, which had formerly been in part my own. His manner was not effusive. It seldom was, but he was glad, I think, to see me. With hardly a word spoken, but with a kindly eye, he waved me to an armchair, threw across his case of cigars, and indicated a spirit case and a gasogene in the corner.
Do have a drinky sound. Yeah, I think it's called Pour and Drink. Yes, there we are. Lovely. This was made for 1984, and I've used it several times since.
Then he sat before the fire and looked...
No, that's the wrong one, I think. Drink, pour, and swallow. That's the one.
Gasogene in the corner. Then he sat before the fire and looked me...
Yes, we'll skip that first one and just bloop, that.
case and a gasogene in the corner. Then he sat before the fire and looked me over in his singular, introspective fashion.
We'll get rid of that last bit. Because, of course, that's Winston drinking the horrible victory gin. So he's like glug, 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 and then... That's horrible.
And a gasogene in the corner. Then he sat before the fire and looked me over in his singular, introspective fashion. "Wedlock suits you," he remarked. "I think, Watson, that you have put on 7.5 pounds since I saw you." "7?" I answered. "Indeed, I should have thought a little more. Just a trifle more, I fancy, Watson. And in practice again, I observed. You did not tell me that you intended to go into harness." "Then how did you know?" "I see it, I deduce it. How do I know that you have been getting yourself very wet lately, and that you have a most clumsy and careless servant girl?" "My dear Holmes," said I, "this is too much. You would certainly have been burned had you lived a few centuries ago. It is true that I had a country walk on Thursday and came home in a dreadful mess, but as I have changed my clothes, I can't imagine how you deduce it. As to Mary Jane, she is incorrigible, and my wife has given her notice, but there again I fail to see how you work it out." He chuckled to himself and rubbed his long, nervous hands together.
Like that? I record the chuckling. Yes, I do. Okay. So, I think we'll use the second one, eh, what? It was just a bit more natural. And we're going to put it under that statement.
Chuckled to
There we are.
He chuckled to himself and rubbed
A little bit quieter.
chuckled to himself and rubbed his long, nervous hands together. His long, nervous hands together. "It is simplicity itself."
A little quicker.
Together. "It is simplicity itself."
Let's listen to that sequence. Make sure it's smooth and good.
I fail to see how you work it out. He chuckled to himself and rubbed his long, nervous hands together. "It is simplicity itself," said he. "My eyes tell me that on the inside of your left shoe, just where the firelight strikes it, the leather is scored by 6 almost parallel cuts. Obviously, they've been caused by someone who has been very carelessly scraped round the edge of the sole in order to remove crusted mud from it. Hence, you see, my double deduction that you have been out in vile weather and that you have a particularly malignant boot-slitting specimen of the London slavey. As to your practice, if a gentleman walked into my room smelling of ideoform with a black mark of nitrate of silver upon his right forefinger and a bulge on the right side of his top hat to show where he has secreted his stethoscope, I must be dull indeed if I do not pronounce him to be an active member of the medical profession."
Watson having a laugh now. Oh, they're so jovial.
Profession. I could not help laughing at the ease with which he explained. I could not help laughing at the ease with which he explained his process of deduction. "When I hear you give your reasons," I remarked, "the thing always appears to me to be so ridiculously simple that I could easily do it myself, though at each successive instance of your reasoning I am baffled until you explain your process. And yet I believe that my eyes are as good as yours." "Quite so," he answered, lighting a cigarette and throwing himself down.
Do I have the lighting of a match? Matches? I do! Wonderful! I'm so happy. I almost want to not have one though, so I can show you where I get sound effects and stuff, but I'm sure we'll come across something.
Your reasoning, I am baffled until you explain your process. And yet I believe that my eyes are as good as yours. "Quite so," he answered, lighting a cigarette and throwing himself down into an armchair.
Right. So, oops. No emails. Thank you very much. No, none of that either. Concentrate, Steve. Where are we? What are we doing? We are sitting down in a chair. So, we have but one sound effect for sitting down in a leather chair. But it's quite long, so we need simply choose another part of it than the one we used for water.
Throwing himself down into an armchair. You see, but you do not observe the distinct. Great, and throwing himself down into an armchair. You see, but throwing himself down into an armchair. You see.
Beep, beep, beep. Every sound must be smooth. Fade in, fade out makes it good. There we are.
Down into an armchair. You.
No.
Lighting a cigarette and throwing himself down into an armchair. You see, but.
Why does that sound so?
Lighting a cigarette and throwing himself down into an armchair. You see, but you do not observe. The distinction is clear. For
Maybe
example,
that sound effect has quite an abrupt end.
Quite so, he answered, lighting a cigarette and throwing himself down into an armchair. You see, but you.
Daddy no like. That is, sounds like a smelly poo-poo. I don't like it.
And throwing himself down into an armchair. You see, but you.
The thing is too abrupt.
Down into an armchair. You see. Cigarette and throwing himself down into an armchair. You see, but you do not observe. The distinction is clear. For example, you have frequently seen the steps which lead up from the hall to this room. Frequently. How often? Well, some hundreds of times.
Bloop. Bloop, 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 bloop. Why is it only counting that one when I say go back to a thingamy-bob? Stop me if I get too technical. With my thingamybobs and my whatsits. Well. Then I believe we're actually all the way back here. Aren't we? Not that you can really hear this sound effect, but, you know.
The hall to this room? Frequently. How often? Well, some hundreds of times.
You would hear its sudden absence, even if you can't really hear the effect itself. Also, we need the smoothies. Crossfades, please. Crossfades for all. Crossfades aplenty. Thank you. All right.
Are there? How many? I don't know. Quite so. You have not observed, and yet you have seen. That is just my point. Now, I know that there are 17 steps because I have both seen and observed. By the way, since you are interested in these little problems, and since you are good enough to chronicle one or two of my trifling experiences, you may be interested in this. He threw over a sheet of thick, pink-tinted notepaper.
Tricky. So we do have paper, but I don't think we have anything like that. Pages turning, book open and close. A bad version with a hiss in the background that you can clean up, though. It's still usable. Newspaper handling, maybe. Paper slide, possibly. The combination of those two might work quite well. Paper towel, writing. Okay, so let's see what happens when we pull out these two. Because I think we might be able to make something cool here. Zoom in a little more. So I can find the absolute start of the sounds. There we are. Okay.
Tinted notepaper, which had been lying open upon the table. It came by the last...
shorter than that. Boom. Call that there. And we'll pull in that one.
Paper, which had been lying
You're quite loud, aren't you?
open upon the table. It came by the last paper, which had been lying open upon the table. It came by the last
You might not be necessary.
note paper, which had been lying open upon the table.
Yeah, we'll get rid of that. That's fine.
Tinted note paper, which had been lying open upon the table. It came by the last post, said he. Read it aloud. The note was undated, and without either signature or address. There will come upon you tonight at 7:45, it said, a gentleman who desires to consult you upon a matter of the very deepest moment. Your recent services to one of the royal houses of Europe have shown that you are one who may safely be trusted with matters which are of an importance which can hardly be exaggerated. This account of you we have from all quarters received. Be in your chamber then at that hour, and do not take it amiss if your visitor wear a mask. This is indeed a mystery, I remarked. What do you imagine that it means? I have no data yet. It is a capital mistake to theorize before one has data. Insensibly, one begins to twist facts to suit theories, instead of theories to suit facts. But the note itself, what do you deduce from it? I carefully examined the writing and the paper upon which it was written. The man who wrote it was presumably well-to-do, I remarked, endeavoring to imitate my companion's process. Such paper could not be bought under half a crown a packet. It is peculiarly strong and stiff. Peculiar, that is the very word, said Holmes. It is not an English paper at all. Hold it up to the light. I did so, and saw a large E with a small g, and a P and a large G with a small T woven into the texture of the paper. What do you make of that? Asked Holmes. The name of the maker, no doubt, or his monograph, rather. Not at all. The G with a small T stands for Gesellschaft, which is the German for company. It is a customary contraction like our co. P, of course, stands for papier. Now for the EG, let us glance at our Continental Gazetteer. He took down a heavy brown volume.
Took down a book. All right. Book open and close. The sound effect for book open is as subtle as you might imagine. There we go. That was a close. Alright, there's something in there that we can use. About the third one, I reckon.
Rather. Not at all. The G with a small T stands for Gesellschaft, which is the German for company. It is a customary contraction like our co. P, of course, stands for papier. Now for the EG, let us glance at our Continental Gazetteer. He took down a heavy brown volume from his shelves. Here we are, Egria. It is in a German-speaking country in Bohemian from his shelves. Here. He took down a heavy brown volume from his shelves. Here we are, Egria. It is in a German-speaking country in Bohemia, not far from Carlsbad, remarkable as being the scene of the death of Wallenstein and for its numerous glass factories and paper mills. My boy, what... Paper mills. My boy, what do you make of that? His eyes sparkled, and he sent up a great blue triumphant cloud from his cigarette. The paper was made in Bohemia, I said. Precisely! And the man who wrote the note is a German. Do you note the peculiar construction of the sentence, "This account of you we have from all quarters received"? A Frenchman or Russian could not have written that. It is the German who is so uncourteous to his verbs. It only remains, therefore, to discover what is wanted by this German who writes upon Bohemian paper and prefers wearing a mask to showing his face. And, here he comes.
Right. Now, SFX, vehicles. I remember what's coming next. It's a horse and cart coming down the street. One of my few well-organized folders, because I use it all the time. Vehicles, air, ground, space, and water. Yes, space vehicles. What? What of it? What of it? Yes, perhaps the Bohemian King shows up in a spaceship. Alright, probably not. Ground, horse and cart, bicycles, cars, horse and cart. Which one? It's quite a snazzy one. Could be that one. It's a bit muffly. Oh, that's the same one, but shortened. That's daytime, that's no good. Right, okay, so we want this one. We'll use the extended one, even though we're probably not going to need much of it. And I might just throw a little bit of EQ on it. And kill some of that bass, eh? Increase the clarity of the bass? I'm not sure if that's what we're looking for. Let's have a look.
Here he comes, if I'm not mistaken, to resolve all our doubts. As he spoke, there was the sharp sound of horses' hooves and grating wheels against the curb, followed by a sharp pull at the bell. Holmes whistled. "The pair, by the sound," said he. "Yes," he continued,
Okay.
showing his face. And, here he comes, if I'm not mistaken, to resolve all our doubts. As he spoke, there was the sharp sound of... And, here he comes, if I'm not mistaken, to resolve all our doubts. As he spoke, there was the sharp sound of horses' hooves and grating wheels against the curb, followed by a sharp pull at the bell.
Right, so it's going to finish by then. Difficult to do a conclusive ending to these sound effects, so I try and mix them in with something else.
Horses' hooves and grating wheels against the curb, followed by a sharp pull at the bell.
Sharp pull at the bell. We had a bell. We've already heard the bells, so it'd best be the same one, eh? What? That can't be that file. What are you talking about? What? Oh, that's the laugh. That's Sherlock laughing. Right, I got all confused. Ignore me. Chair sitting on the leather, so he's already inside, so it's before that. I rather think it's in there somewhere. Okay. Is it?
Which must always be associated in my mind.
That's his footstep.
And with the dark incident.
That is just his feet.
The bell and was shown up to the chamber.
Right.
Which had
Is
formerly
that it?
been
That's the bell? Yes, it is.
His
Okay.
manner was asked, showing his face. And here he comes, if I'm not mistaken, to resolve all our doubts. As he spoke, there was the sharp sound of horses' hooves, followed by a sharp pull at the bell. And grating wheels against the curb, followed by a sharp pull at the bell. Holmes whistled.
It's too sharp, isn't it?
Against the curb, followed by a sharp pull at the bell. Holmes whistled. The pair.
Right. That I'm going to cut up because I don't like that whistle.
The pair.
I'm not going to get rid of it. Just going to move it under Holmes' whistle.
Holmes whistle. Holmes whistle. Holmes whistle. Repair. Holmes whistle. Repair. By the sound.
There we are.
Yes, he continued, glancing out of the window. A nice little brown and a pair of beauties.
Some horses, please. Animals. We have many horse sounds. Many. Okay. Horse. Just some gentle horse sounds. Molly. The gentle lady horse from Animal Farm. Should be perfect. Perfect for that. Sherlock's whistle. Go down there. We're going to use Molly. Sounds like it's going to be a hell of a weekend, doesn't it? We're going to use Molly to smooth out those sounds a little bit. How about that? How about that? Eh?
Followed by a sharp pull at the bell. Holmes whistled. Repair by the sound, said he. Yes, he continued, glancing out of the window. A nice little brown and a pair of beauties. 150 guineas apiece. There's money in this case, Watson, if there's nothing else.
Right, delete. Then we're going to have one more effusive horse sound, I think. I was walking. No. No. Yes. That one. The little... That'll be perfect.
A nice little brown and a pair of beauties. Brown and a pair of beauties. 150 guineas apiece. There's to the window. A nice little brown and a pair of beauties.
Slightly louder.
A nice little brown and a
There we
pair
go.
of beauties. 150 guineas apiece. There's money in this case, Watson, if there's nothing else. I think I'd better go, Holmes. Not a bit, Doctor. Stay where you are. I'm lost without my Boswell. And this promises to be interesting. It will be a pity to miss it. But your client... No, never mind him. I may want your help, and so may he. Here he comes. Sit down in that armchair, Doctor, and give us your best attention.
I'm looking for a very specific sound effect here. Again, from 1984. That's quite a good one. Ah, there we are. Is it that one? No. There we are. That came from quite a good little recording that I'll show you what the heck. Open up. Non-commercial, there you go. Free SFX and free sound. It's freesfx.co.uk and freesound.org is where I get most of my sound effects from. And you can do a search, stairs, right? Or stairs are, if you're an idiot. And there you go, walking upstairs, running downstairs, right? You'll find lots of stuff here, but they've all been made by amateurs. Lots of them are just with like the microphones that are attached to their video cameras or something like that. So you quite often have to clean up the sounds a little bit before you can use them. But still, as a free resource for sound effects, pretty bloody useful. And I think I got that here, and it was a, if I recall, this one was from like a university film project where a young person was walking up some stairs, and it had some sounds of like sneakers squeaking on the ground, and I had to delete them. That's why this one is called Wooden Stairs No Squeak, because I removed the sneakers. Anyway.
I may want your help, and so may he. Here he comes.
Right. Now. Whoop.
Sit down in that armchair, Doctor, and give us your best attention. A slow and heavy step, which had been heard upon the stairs and in the passage, paused.
There we go. Little break. Break the rhythm.
Immediately outside the door.
Just go in a little tighter there. There we go. Get rid of that step. And then we're going to trim the gap between these steps. You have no idea how many times I have modified footsteps in these books.
And in the passage, paused immediately outside the door. Then there was a loud and authoritative tap.
Okay, knocking at the door. Knocking at the door. Knocking at the door. Vigorous. Yes, that will do. Loud and authoritative tip.
An authoritative tap. Come in, said.
Let's get rid of the last two. So it'll just be knock, knock, knock.
Tap. Come in, said Holmes.
And then the door will open. We should use the same one as we used before, of course, which was where? That's the horse and cart showing up. This is the paper. Clever editors, who are much better than me, like make a different track for every type of sound effect, so that they can go and modify them or catch them if they want, or copy them if they want to, you know, whatever. Yeah, that looks like sitting down. Yes. So this will be the door. There we are. There's the tap.
A loud and authoritative tap. Come in,
Quite right. And there's the door.
said Holmes. A man entered who could hardly have been less than 6 feet 6 inches in height, with the chest and limbs of a Hercules.
I mean, 6'6" is big now. Can you imagine 6'6" in 1890, when like the average height is 5'5" or something? He's just a giant, absolute giant of a dude.
Come in, said Holmes. A man entered who could hardly have been less than 6 feet 6 inches in height, with the chest and limbs of a Hercules. His dress was rich, with a richness which would, in England, be looked upon as akin to bad taste. Heavy bands of astrakhan were slashed across the sleeve, hardly have been, said Holmes. A man entered who could hardly have been less than...
No, that's not good, because we want like thick carpet sound. I don't know if I've got that sort of thing. What can I use? I've got lots of grass and stuff. Maybe that could work. That could work. That could work.
A man entered who could hardly have been less than 6 feet 6 inches in height.
I mean, it's only going to be a few steps anyway, isn't it? You know, you don't take 30 steps into a room, do you?
A man entered who could hardly have been less than 6 feet 6 inches in height, with the chest and limbs of a Hercules.
Oh, I think that
His
worked
dress
quite well.
was rich, with a richness which would, in England, be looked upon as akin to bad taste. Heavy bands of astrakhan were slashed across the sleeves and fronts of his double-breasted coat, while the deep blue cloak, which was thrown over his shoulders, was lined with flame-coloured silk and secured at the neck with a brooch which consisted of a single flaming barrel. Boots, which extended halfway up his calves and which were trimmed at the tops with rich brown fur, completed the impression of barbaric opulence which was suggested by his whole appearance. He carried a broad-brimmed hat
Barbaric in this case, just meaning not English, I guess.
in his hand, while he wore across the upper part of his face, extending down past the cheekbones, a black vizard mask, which he had apparently adjusted that very moment, for his hand was still raised to it as he entered. From the lower part of the face, he appeared to be a man of strong character, with a thick, hanging lip and a long, straight chin, suggestive of resolution pushed to the length of obstinacy. "You had my note?" he asked, with a deep, harsh voice and a strongly marked German accent. "I told you that I would call." He looked from one to the other of us, as if uncertain which to address. "Pray, take a seat," said Holmes. "This is my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson, who is occasionally good enough to help me in my cases. Whom have I the honor to address?" "You may address me as the Count von Kram, a Bohemian nobleman. I understand that this gentleman, your friend, is a man of honor and discretion, who I may trust with a matter of the most extreme importance. If not, I should much prefer to communicate with you alone." I rose to go, but Holmes caught me by the wrist and pushed me back into my chair. "It is both or none," said he.
Wait, but the chair again? Yes, the chair again, I think. It was in Things, wasn't it? In chair, leather. Yes. Maybe a little scrape here? No. Creaky? No. Just chair, sit, leather. Don't try and get too clever, Stephen. It's the same chair. Use the same sound.
To go, but Holmes caught me by the wrist and pushed me back into my chair.
Like the bitch I am.
"It is both or none," said he. "You may say..."
Ah, yes, let's just use that last little bit, shall we? That seems good.
Pushed me back into my chair. "It is both my chair. "It is both or none," said he.
A little quieter. That doesn't have to be so
My
intense.
chair. "It is both or none,"
There we are.
said he. "You may say before this gentleman anything which you may say to me." The Count shrugged his broad shoulders. "Then I must begin," said he, "by binding you both to absolute secrecy for 2 years. At the end of that time, the matter will be of no importance. At present, it is not too much to say that it is of such weight it may have an influence upon European history." "I promise," said Holmes. "And I. You will excuse this mask," continued our strange visitor. "The august person who employs me wishes his agent to be unknown to you, and I may confess at once that the title by which I have just called myself is not exactly mine own." "I was aware of it," said Holmes dryly. "The circumstances are of great delicacy, and every precaution has to be taken to quench what might grow to be an immense scandal and seriously compromise one of the reigning families of Europe. To speak plainly, The matter implicates the great house of Ormstein, hereditary kings of Bohemia.
I was also aware of that,
Murmured Holmes, settling himself down in his armchair and closing his eyes. Our visitor glanced with some apparent surprise at the languid, lounging figure of the man who had been, no doubt, depicted to him as the most incisive reasoner and most energetic agent in Europe. Holmes slowly reopened his eyes and looked impatiently at his gigantic client.
If your majesty would condescend to state your case, he remarked, I should be better able to advise you.
The man sprang from his chair and paced up and down the room in uncontrollable agitation. Then, with a gesture of desperation, he tore the mask from his face and hurled it upon the ground. You are right, he cried.
Wait. Threw the mask upon the ground. Now, they do describe it. It's one of those sort of lacquered wooden masks, maybe? Huh. Shit. What the heck do I use for this? Dropping objects on the floor. Let's have a look. I mean, that's clearly a pen falling on lino. I hate this guy's collections. But sometimes there's a good one. No. Trouble is, he just collects everything, and there's no continuity of quality or type of sound or anything at all. He just mashes them all together. Uh, 40 seconds. Let's listen to the next one. A pot of some sort? Flower pot or something? Drawer being opened and shut? Useless. Alright, back to this guy. Oh, wait. Basketball? No, not quite. Just something crap. Ugh, enough. Yes, we've heard that one. Oh, gee. Seriously, I have used sound effects from this guy. This is one guy. He does a bunch of collections like this. And I have used them before. There has been some useful stuff. It's just his organization annoys the hell out of me. You have to listen to like 3 minutes of sound effects, and most of them are crap. And then you might find one that's useful. Maybe that. I don't know what the sliding is afterwards, though. What was that? That's picking it up and dropping it. Whatever it is, a sack full of nonsense. I hate this guy. And so we had a maybe in here somewhere, right? No, back a bit. Oh, why didn't I pay more attention? There, it's that collection. There you go. 156 in, which is difficult. Was it that one? 3? Yes. Okay, so now we have to try and pluck it out. Is it those ones? No, that's the ball or whatever it is. Yeah, that's the group. Maybe that one. Right? Because it was nice and clean. This is the trouble with not having the budget to be able to buy a bunch of sound effects. But even having the big budget doesn't guarantee that you're going to be able to, you know, get the ones you want. You might just end up, you know, still doing close enough.
Into my chair. It is both or none, said he. You may of such weight, it may have an influence upon European history. I promise, said for 2 years. Broad shoulders. Then I must begin, said he, by binding you both to absolute secrecy for 2 years.
And I've forgotten where the time code of where this sound effect goes. Ugh. This is the trouble with not really knowing what you're doing and doing everything manually and with great difficulty in the worst possible way you could do it. I waste a lot of time.
Present, it is not too much to say that it is of such weight, it may have an influence upon European history. I promise, said Holmes. And I. You will excuse this mask, continued our strange visitor. The august person who employs me wishes his agent to be unknown to you, and I may confess at once that the title by which I have just called myself is not exactly mine own. I was aware of it, said Holmes dryly. The circumstances are of great delicacy, and every precaution has to be taken to quench what might grow to be an immense scandal and seriously compromise one of the reigning families of Europe. To speak plainly, the matter implicates the great house of Holstein, hereditary kings of Bohemia. I was also aware of that, murmured Holmes, settling himself down in his armchair and closing his eyes.
Oh, we'll come back to that. 1515, remember 1515.
Figure of the man who had been, no doubt,
We need the chair again.
The most incisive reasoner and most energetic agent in Europe. Holmes slowly reopened his eyes and looked impatiently at his gigantic client. If your Majesty would condescend to state your
Here we go,
case,
coming up.
he remarked, I should be better able to advise you. The man sprang from his chair and paced up and down the room.
More chair and footsteps. Okay.
Then, with a gesture of desperation,
Here we go.
he tore the mask from his face and hurled it upon the ground.
There. All that for that.
And hurled it upon the ground. You
So much work for that.
hurled it upon the ground. You
There you go. That's my life, people. That's my life. Oh, man. All right. Is it 1515, I said, for the...
down in his armchair.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, good Lord. Okay. I'm starting to get a bit tired. This is quite a draining job, actually. I know it doesn't seem like it.
His armchair and closing his eyes.
There we are. Ganang. Ganang me. When somebody get a rope and hang me. It's from an old movie. Old Robin Williams
Alistair
movie.
glanced with some apparent surprise at the languid, lounging figure of the man who had been, no doubt, depicted to him as the uncontrollable agitation. Then, with a gesture of desperation, would condescend to state your case, he had been, no doubt,
all right.
depicted to him as the most incisive reasoner and most energetic agent in Europe. Holmes slowly reopened his eyes and looked impatiently at his gigantic client. If your Majesty would condescend to state your case, he remarked, I should be better able to advise you. The man sprang.
I think that's a different sound, though. That's a scrapey chair. Right? Oops.
From his chair and paced up and down the room in uncontrollable agitation. Then, with a gesture,
Yeah, more subtle sound thing. Go. Oh, my word.
paced up and down the. The man sprang from his chair and paced up and down the room in uncontrollable.
Footsteps. Alright, we're gonna play with them, that's all.
Sprang from his chair and paced up and down the room in uncontrollable agitation.
Let him do 4. Then a little break.
Then, with a gesture of desperation, he tore them.
And 4 back. There we go. Alright.
The man sprang from his chair and paced up and down the room in uncontrollable agitation. Then, with a gesture of desperation, he tore the mask from his face and hurled it upon the ground. The man sprang from his chair and paced up and down the room in uncontrollable agitation. Then, with a gesture of desperation, he tore the mask from his face and hurled it upon the ground. You are right, he cried. I am the king.
That sound effect of him hurling the mask to the ground will haunt me every time I hear this story. Anyway. Save, play.
Why should I attempt to conceal it?
Why?
Indeed.
Why should I attempt to
Your
conceal
Majesty
it?
had not spoken before I was aware that I was addressing Wilhelm Gottreich Sigismund von Ormstein, Grand Duke of Castle-Filstein and hereditary King of Bohemia. But you can understand, said our strange visitor, sitting down once more and passing his hand over his high white forehead.
Ech.
You can understand that I am not accustomed to doing such business in my own person. Yet the matter was so delicate that I could not confide it to an agent without putting myself in his power. I have come, incognito, from Prague, for the purpose of consulting you. Then pray, consult, said Holmes, shutting his eyes once more. The facts are briefly Duke of Castle-Filstein and hereditary King of Bohemia. But you can understand, Put it upon the ground. You are right, he cried. I am the king. Why should I attempt to conceal it? Why indeed, murmured Holmes. Your Majesty had not spoken before I was aware that I was addressing Wilhelm Gottreich Sigismund von Ormstein, Grand Duke of Castle-Filstein and hereditary King of Bohemia. But you can understand, said our strange visitor, sitting down once more and passing his hand over his high white forehead. You can understand that I am not accustomed to doing sitting down once more and passing his hand over his high white forehead. You can understand that I am not accustomed to doing such business in my own person. Yet the matter was so delicate that I could not confide it to an agent without putting myself in his power. I have come, incognito, from Prague, for the purpose of consulting you. Then pray consult, said Holmes, shutting his eyes once more. The facts are briefly these. Some 5 years ago, during a lengthy visit to Warsaw, I made the acquaintance of the well-known adventuress, Irene Adler. The name is no doubt familiar to you. Kindly look her up in my index, Doctor, murmured Holmes without opening his eyes. For many years, he had adopted a system of docketing all paragraphs concerning men and things, so that it was difficult to name a subject or a person on which he could not at once furnish information. In this case, I found her biography sandwiched in between that of a Hebrew rabbi and that of a staff commander who had written a monograph upon the deep-sea fishes. Let me see, said Holmes. Born in New Jersey, and not at once furnish information. In this case, I found her biography furnish information. In this case, I found her without opening his eyes. For many years, he had adopted a system of docketing all paragraphs concerning men and things, so that it was difficult to name a subject or a person on which he could not at once furnish information. In this case, I found her biography.
Okay, we're going to do something tricky here. This is a book being opened and closed. What we're going to do is just mute out all the incidences of it being closed, for they are not sounds we want. And I think the book being opened should sound like book being opened and then pages being turned. Let's try it out.
And things, so that it was difficult to name a subject or a person on which he could not at once furnish information. In this case, I found her biography sandwiched in between that of a Hebrew rabbi and that of a staff commander who had written a monograph upon the deep.
Yes, that worked very well. I'm very pleased. Almost smugly, so... All right.
To name a subject or a person on
Quite
which he
enough,
could not
Stephen.
at once furnish information. In this case, I found her biography sandwiched in between that of a Hebrew rabbi and that of a staff commander who had written a monograph upon the deep-sea fishes. Let me see, said Holmes. Born in New Jersey in the year 1858. Contralto. La Scala. Prima donna, Imperial Opera of Warsaw. Yes, retired from operatic stage. Living in London. Quite so. Your Majesty, as I understand, became entangled with this young person, wrote her some
Right. So there, we want quite the opposite. We want quite a shutting of the book, because he's found the information he wants, and therefore is done with his little text here. There we go. That should be that.
Majesty, as I understand, became entangled.
All right, it's the wrong timing though.
Quite so.
Quite so, bang. That's what we want.
Quite so. Your Majesty, as I understand,
Perfect.
became entangled with this young.
A little too loud though.
Living in London. Quite so. Your
No, that's too quiet now.
London. Quite so. Your Majesty, as I
Lovely.
understand, became entangled with this young person, wrote her some compromising letters, and is now desirous of getting those letters back. Precisely so. But how was there a secret marriage? None. No legal papers or certificates? None. Then I fail to follow, Your Majesty. If this young person should produce her letters for blackmailing or other purposes, how is she to prove their authenticity? There is the writing. Oh, pooh, forgery. Mine private notepaper. Stolen. My own seal. Imitated. My photograph. Bought. We were both in the photograph.
What sort of photograph do you think that is, eh? Hey! Well, you're probably wrong. It was 1880. They could literally just be standing next to each other, and that would be compromising enough. Boo! Boring.
Oh dear. That is...
In a modern version, of course, it would be like a sex tape or something, right? Yeah.
Is very bad. Your Majesty has indeed committed an indiscretion. I was mad, insane. You have compromised yourself seriously. I was only crown prince then. I was young. I am but 30 now. It must be recovered. We have tried and failed. Your Majesty must pay. It must be bought. She will not sell. Stolen then. 5 attempts have been made. Twice burglars in my pay ransacked her house. Once we diverted her luggage when she traveled. Twice she has been waylaid. There has been no result. No sign of it. Absolutely none. Holmes laughed. It is quite a pretty...
Again. Trummer to trum, move to move. Take the laugh, put it under him, saying that he laughed. That's very good.
Holmes laughed. It is...
It's technique I enjoy quite a lot.
Holmes laughed. It is quite a pretty little problem, said he, but a very serious one to me, returned the king reproachfully. Very, indeed. And what does she propose to do with the photograph? To ruin me. But how? I am about to be married, so I have heard, to Clotilde Lockman von Saxe-Meiningen, second daughter of the King of Scandinavia. You may know the strict principles of her family. She is herself the very soul of delicacy. A shadow of a doubt as to my conduct brings the matter to an end. And Irene Adler threatens to send them the photograph, and she will do it. I know that she will do it. You do not know her, but she has a soul of steel. She has the face of the most beautiful of women and the mind of the most resolute of men. Rather than I should marry another woman, there are no lengths to which she would not go. None. You are sure that she has not sent it yet? I am sure. And why? Because she said that she would send it on the day when the betrothal was publicly proclaimed. That will be next Monday. Oh, well then, we have 3 days yet. Said Holmes with a yawn. That is very...
Nice editing, Steve.
We have 3 days yet.
'Cause I was going to do a little bit of the old... Do a little bit of the... Just like I've done with the laughs. That goes there. That can go there.
We have 3 days yet, said Holmes with a yawn. That is very fortunate.
We can trim that even closer.
3 days yet, said Holmes with a yawn. That
Down just a little bit.
3 days yet, said Holmes with a yawn. That is very fortunate, as I have 1 or 2 matters of importance to look into just at present.
So I think that could be a bit closer too. Right? Right? Right.
Days yet, said Holmes with a yawn. That is very fortunate, as I have 1 or 2 matters of importance to look into just at present. Your Majesty will, of course, stay in London for the present? Certainly. You will find me at the Langham, under the name of the Count von Kram. Then I shall drop you a line to let you know how we progress. Pray do so. I shall be all anxiety. Then, as to money? You have carte blanche. Absolutely. I tell you that I would give one of the provinces of my kingdom to have that photograph. And for present expenses? The king took a heavy chamois leather bag from under his cloak and laid it on the table.
Oh God. Am I going to have to look at those files again? Oh no. Oh please no. Oh no. Putting a bag on a table. Putting a sack on a table. What could that be? What could that be? A thump? No. That was something very specific, I feel. That sounds like something I made for a thing. I do try and avoid making things too much. Because it's quite a bum. Once you've already done lots, you know, and you have a bit of a library, you want to try and just use your library, don't you? Bottle drag? No. Church bells, no. Clicky clockwork, no. I don't know, no. I don't want to look at those dropping the objects on the floor again. Please, no. Falling, no. Fluorescent, no. Glass, no. Hand dryer, no. Heart rate monitor, no. Heating hospital lockers, magic matches, blah, 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 blah. Pneumatic cupboard, 1984 stuff. Pour the wine, rim shot, siren slab, slow fan. You see how badly organized my sound effects are? They're really quite terrible. Wine glass, pick up and put down, no. Metal, maybe something in there. A little, it could be a little jingly, right? Because it's coin. No, that's coins on coins. I don't. No. No, I think I might have to make something. Let's have a look at these metal hits. I don't think they're going to do it, but who knows? Might find something. No. 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 Right. None of them. It was fun, though. Lantern, no. That's very rattly. Very rattly. Dirt, crockery, not really. Maybe? Or no. No. Maybe? Ooh. Maybe the start there, hey? Yes. Yes, I say. Yes. Just that first little bit.
There,
right?
on the table. There,
I think that does it. Yeah.
the table. There are 300 pounds in gold and 700 in notes, he said. Holmes scribbled a receipt upon a sheet of his notebook and handed it to him. And mademoiselle's address? He asked. Is Bryony Lodge, Serpentine Avenue, St. John's Wood. Holmes took a note of it. One other question, said he. Was the photograph a cabinet? It was. Then good night, Your Majesty, and I trust that we shall soon have some good news for you. And good night, Watson, he added, as the wheels of the Royal Brougham rolled down the street. If you'll be good enough to call tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock, I should like to chat this little matter over with you.
Back a little bit.
I'd like to chat this little matter over with you.
Lovely. Except that all you sound effects can fade out as that's happening. Thank you. There we go. And you, my friends.
Was the photograph a cabinet? It was. Then good night, Your Majesty, and I trust that we shall soon have some good news for you. And good night, said he. Was the photograph a cabinet? It was. Ah, then good night, Your Majesty, and I trust that we shall soon have some good news for you. And good night, Watson, he added, as the wheels of the Royal Brougham rolled down the street. If you'll be good enough to call tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock, I should like to chat this little matter over with you.
Lovely. Lovely. Love L-E. Okay. So, now, super mega hyper warning. Sherlock Holmes Nieri Scandal in Bohemia 01. Yeah, super mega hyper warning because Windows 11 really doesn't like it when I export things from Adobe Premiere Pro. It is a shitty poo software poo, and it may well do blue screen of death as soon as I hit export, or soon after. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, you don't have to be here for this, so thank you very much for joining me for this little video. I hope you found it interesting and informative and all of that sort of stuff. Next week, of course, we'll be recording and editing part 2 and all of that sort of thing. And this weekend, I'm going to try and do a little bit of gamey streaming. I just have to choose which game it is that I should stream, because I don't really know. Yeah, so we'll be back soon with more of this sort of thing. I am going to try and keep up the streaming thing and regularly put out something each and every single day. So look forward to that. Okay, thanks for joining me. Bye, 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 bye.